From Disney's Tarzan and the Jungle book to William Golding's 1954 book Lord of the Flies, the idea of feral children have permeated our culture for quite some time. In today's video, we will be taking the opportunity to look at 10 amazing cases of children who were raised by animals. Let's begin, shall we? Number 10. Baby Hospital. When we hear the words baby hospital, most of us probably think of a place, likely a healthcare facility for young children. But in this case, it actually is a child's name. With that said, it may have been a well-intended effort to give this little girl a symbolic name that would reflect her extremely unique life. You see, Baby Hospital was discovered by an Italian missionary working in Sierra Leone. You see, when she was found, Baby was just 7 years old, but perhaps where she was found is even more shocking than how. It was 1984 when the missionary came across Baby living in the jungle among apes and monkeys. Very little is known about how Baby came to live among the animals, but when she had discovered one thing was certain, the child had definitely become feral. As soon as she was separated from the wild primates and brought to a medical facility to be checked out, she immediately began showing signs of depression and cried relentlessly. Upon closer examination, doctors determined her arms were highly developed but her legs were not. This was a clear indication that the child had spent most of her key developmental years living as a monkey. As therapists tried to reintegrate her into society, they soon discovered that it wouldn't be easy. Baby had never learned to stand upright, and she ate her food straight off her dish, rarely using her hands. She also resisted any attempt to make her conform. Baby continued to live in Africa and today would be approximately 42 years old, but due to poor record keeping and census, it is unknown what became of her. Number 9. King Chidi, 38 years living in the jungle. In the early months of 1984, shortly before Baby was found, another child went missing 10,000 miles away in the jungle between India and Myanmar. The child's name was and his story is among the most famous cases of feral children in history, and I'm pretty sure I mispronounced his name. NG was only 4 years old when she went missing. After several years, most locals presumed that she had perished. I mean, after all, there are many creatures in the jungles of Myanmar who would prey on a vulnerable, helpless young child like NG. But the reality of NG's situation was something no one had imagined. By the dawn of the 90s, many locals had forgotten entirely about NG's disappearance, but urban legends began to spring up in surrounding areas. Legends of a wild jungle girl who lived among the trees. Unfortunately, because most of the rumors sprung up in the neighboring Myanmar and folks in India never considered the connection. In 2012, however, nearly 40 years after her disappearance, local authorities found a naked 42-year-old woman living in a local cemetery, and you guessed it, it was NG. Unlike many feral children, NG dealt pretty well with reintegration, despite spending most of her life living in the jungle. She was surprisingly human still. She hadn't taken on any of the tendencies of the wild animals she was no doubt surrounded by. She was able to speak and quickly learn new, very basic words, and she wasn't even particularly shy around people. Her family refused to have her psychologically or medically evaluated, so very little is known of her long-term situation and what effect she suffered during those 38 years. Number 8. Dog Boy from Chile. On Saturday, June 16, 2001, Chilean authorities were stunned when an officer pulled a young boy from the freezing waters of the Pacific Ocean. But there was one strange detail about this rescue: the fact that he didn't want to be rescued. The young boy fought off his rescuer and then, back on land, fought with police who were trying to get him to much-needed medical attention. During the struggle, he bit and snarled at officers. Once police eventually got him to a hospital, doctors determined that he was severely malnourished and had endured wounds while trying to fight off the officers. Upon further investigation, it was determined that the boy had been living with a pack of dogs in a cave outside Talcahuano port. While authorities thought he may have been raised by dogs, it was soon discovered that his name was Alex and he was around 5 years old and had escaped from a youth care center 2 years earlier. He had learned to scavenge with the pack and may have even suckled from a nursing mother dog. Number 7. RealLife Mowgli. Police in Misiones, Argentina were stunned and personally affected when they discovered a young child whose plight many feel mimics Disney's The Jungle Book. When police discovered the young child, who at the time was just a year old, the child wasn't the first thing they saw. Instead, it was a large group of feral cats. The cats had seemingly protected the child against freezing temperatures that otherwise may have cost him his life. The officer who found him, Officer Alicia Lorena Lindqvist, recounted the incident saying, quote, "The boy was lying at the bottom of a gutter. There were all these cats on top of him, licking him because he was really dirty." Officer Lindqvist also stated that there were scraps of food near the boy. According to a professional with Thames Valley Animal Welfare, which is responsible for stray and feral cats in Berkshire, explains what likely happened. According to them, strays in Argentina are known for surviving in packs, even going as far as gathering food for nursing mothers. This behavior is unique to cats in this region, but is also consistent. A more primal motivation for the felines to guard this young boy, the expert posit, may have also been a source of heat, saying they may have viewed the baby like a big hot water bottle. And whatever their motivation, this young boy likely wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for them. As for how the small child got there, police located his father and it was determined the two of them were homeless and the child had gone missing several days before while his father was scavenging for cardboard, a material that can be resold locally for a small profit. Number 6. Marina Chapman. Marina Chapman was born somewhere around 1950, but nobody knows for sure when. But her birthday isn't the only mystery surrounding her early life. According to Chapman, she was only 5 years old when she was taken from her village. After some time, she was released into the jungle where she followed a group of capuchin monkeys. After a few years, she was rescued by hunters who couldn't believe her incredible tale. As the years went on, she became more and more used to her new life as a human being. In 2013, with the help of her daughter, Marina wrote her autobiography, The Girl with No Name. Only one problem, that her tale was literally unbelievable, and multiple publishers refused to work with her because they couldn't verify the authenticity of her story. That's when National Geographic took an interest in her story and enlisted the help of Professor Carlos Kahn, who performed a series of tests including recognition comparisons between her adopted family and the group of capuchin monkeys. Thanks to Kahn's testing, experts now consider Chapman's harrowing story to be, in fact, true. Number 5. Andy's Goat Boy. In 1990, officials in Peru discovered a young boy named Daniel. Daniel had been living with a group of goats in the mountains. He walked and ran on all fours, drank goat's milk, ate berries, and even roots. Really, not much here, actually. Number 4. Ramachandra. Ramachandra is the only name given to a 12-year-old boy who was found living an amphibian lifestyle in the Kuwana River located near the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. In 1979, he was rescued and taken to a nearby village where efforts were made to adapt him to a conventional lifestyle. However, all efforts failed and he continued to walk with a modified gait and spent most of his time alone near rivers and streams. Unfortunately, as he began to reach sexual maturity, he started acting out, and in 1982 he approached a woman who, terrified, threw a pot of boiling water on him. This caused major injuries that eventually led to his unfortunate demise. Number 3. Sujit Kumar. In 1979, a young boy named Sujit was born in Fiji. He was afflicted with both cerebral palsy and epilepsy. His parents were unable to come to terms with the associated challenges of his diagnosis, and the family soon took a turn for the worse. Shortly after he was born, his mother committed suicide. Not knowing what to do, his father left the toddler locked up with chickens under the house. While he was still a small boy, he was rescued, but much like his parents, nobody knew what to do with him. By the time he was rescued, Sujit spoke no English and could only communicate through clucking sounds, and his primary interaction with people consisted of outbursts. When he was rescued, he was sent to Sambula Old People's Home. This is where the perilously unprepared staff confined him to a room where he was tied to a bed almost 24 hours a day. Sujit remained in the home for the next 20 years until he caught the eye of Elizabeth Clayton. She was a very wealthy Australian businesswoman who had previously founded the Happy Home Trust to help Fijian children who were viewed as being at risk. While his behavior has improved, Sujit remains profoundly disabled and will likely never speak, and to be perfectly honest, can you blame him? Now it's time for today's best pick. My pick for today may be one of the most unusual cases that we've actually seen today. Number 2. In the middle of the Liberia River lies an island inhabited almost entirely by chimpanzees. The chimpanzees were left there years ago after being subject to cruel government experimentation. The first generation of chimps on the island were almost all infected with disease like hepatitis and AIDS. The chimps, which were released by a company called VLab, are now mostly healthy. However, when researchers landed on the otherwise abandoned island in 2005, they could hardly believe their eyes. There they found a young girl, estimated to be around 7 years old. The girl was rescued and brought back to civilization, but to this day, she struggles to reintegrate into society. Accounts of the girl's behavior reflect that she is more of a chimpanzee than a human, and experts continue to try to figure out who the young girl is and where she came from.
I saved the best for last, but first, I have a quick challenge that takes only 5 seconds to complete. If you can leave a like and subscribe within the next 5 seconds, you'll get 10 years of amazing luck. Just try it, it really works.
Number 1. Robert Mayana. In 1985, Robert Mayana was discovered by NRA soldiers who found him living in the forest with a group of monkeys who had accepted him as their own. This is yet another instance where trying to reintegrate the child into society proved slightly difficult. Mayana was around 12 when he was discovered, and the young child knew almost nothing of the regular world. He had no knowledge of basic things like toilets, food, bathing, beds, or other common luxuries. The situation was so severe that he had to be tied to a chair during mealtimes. In the years since, he has improved dramatically but still operates on a drastically diminished capacity. The high amount of documentation and his partial reintegration makes Robert Mayana our number 1 entry. Which entry on today's list was your favorite? Let us know in the comment section down below. Want even more awesome videos? Click on the 2 above. With all said and done, I hope you all have a good day, and I will see you all next time. Later, everybody.